All right. Well, we mentioned the Hall of Fame, and we're going to start off with the Hall of Fame today because we did it. We got Billy Wagner into the Hall. Our interview was the catalyst for Billy Wagner going from 72 to what did he get? 82.
82.5.
And we texted Billy to congratulate him. Obviously, he didn't get back to us, and I am not offended by it in any way, shape, or form because that guy is completely underwater right now. But I couldn't be any happier for Billy. And it's crazy. You know, the more I learned about Billy's career and his stats, you know, I watched him play, and I always thought he was a Hall of Famer. But then when you see that he had the lowest ERA, you know, for players with 900 innings pitched, you know, his strikeout to walk ratio, he was ridiculous. And the fact that it took him 10 years really, really pissed me off. David, quick thoughts on Billy Wagner. We've talked about him a ton.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, you go back to our episode, check out how much we've talked to Billy Wagner. The interview was awesome. Billy stayed on. Like, we're like, dude, like, you can go. And he's like, no, I'm good. Like, let's keep talking.
Billy just loves talking baseball. He doesn't care.
Love it. Absolute stud. Revolutionized the game of pitching. He was the guy that made fastball, especially fastball up in the zone, a thing. High elevated, high spin rate, high vertical approach angle, like everything. He was like that first pitcher where you looked back and went, okay, what is he doing? Like, what is that ball? Because it is just different. And he, to me, it reminds me so much. Like, there's like people talked about like Nolan Ryan's fastball, but Nolan Ryan's arsenal, the fastball, the curveball, everything. Nolan Ryan just overpowered you. This dude, like you look at this fastball, the upshoot fastball, and you're just like, that revolutionized the game. That revolutionized closing. Mariano is the best closer of all time. Billy Wagner revolutionized the game and made the strikeout like a legit thing for closers to go after every single at bat, every single inning. It was absolutely incredible. And it's crazy to think that there are stats out there. And again, we have to find them a little bit where he was better than Mariano Rivera. And Mariano Rivera, the best closer of all time, one of the best pitchers of all time. But when he's sitting there and he's better than Mariano in some ways, that says a lot when the very, very best. It's like sitting there being compared to Barry Bonds. If you're able to beat Barry Bonds in some real legit stats, and again, we got to find them a little bit. It's like, you know, strikeouts per 9, or it's looking at there and saying ERA, over 900 innings and stuff like that. It's pretty insane what he did. It's just like, if he was a Met his whole career, he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, almost unanimous pick. If he was a Dodger or something like that, there would have been no question. It's just he wasn't, and it just takes time. He had a Hall of Fame career. I just love it that he's in, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, but 10 years, he should have been there a lot sooner. It's amazing. You mentioned that he was better than Mariano in some stats, but Mariano was unanimous, and it took Billy Wagner 10 years. That's just awful. Bad job by the writers. We'll talk about.
Yeah, if he was a closer for the Yankees, you would have been like talking about him. This is the epitome of closers and all that stuff. If you replace Mariano and him, he would have been first ballot, almost unanimous Hall of Famer.
And the first lefty to ever go in as a primary reliever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because there's been 5 guys who are primary relievers that have gotten into the Hall of Fame, and he's the first lefty. The other lefty that had a chance that never got in was John Franco.
Can you name all 5?
Goose, Billy, obviously Mariano, Hoffman, and who is the 5th? Oh my God, Lee Smith.
God dang, you're good.
Thank you.
But that's why you got the hair.
Yes, because when you think about it, it causes so much smoke that it destroys all the hair.
That would have hurt my brain.
Gotcha. All right, Miss Fat Girl, Miss Ugly Girl. Let's talk about one of your former teammates that you made look so good that he got in on his first ballot, and that would be CC Sabathia, the Yankee. CC, just an incredible pitcher for all those years. What was your thoughts when you found out that CC got in first ballot?
Again, he was the guy that we knew was going to get in the Hall of Fame. Just the momentum, you just know, like, you start listening to people and you realize he's going to be he's going to make a Hall of Fame, right? You just hear the ballots, you hear the people coming out. I always thought it was interesting. Like, this is the first pitcher of a new era of pitching because he didn't have the glorious 300 wins. Yes, he's got the 3,000 strikeouts, but it wasn't that like overbearing numbers, like the classic numbers that you get in with. And so it opens the door for a lot of other pitchers, and it makes a Felix Hernandez conversation more interesting. I don't want to say Felix is a Hall of Famer by any means, but by this opens the door to have that conversation. And it still blows my mind, and we need to talk about that. So I know we will. Him and Curt Schilling, and you start throwing their numbers together, it gets really interesting for Curt Schilling because he got banged a lot because people said he didn't have a Hall of Fame career. He had a Hall of Fame postseason, but not a Hall of Fame career. And then you start comparing numbers to CC, and you're like, yeah, Curt blows him out of the water in a lot of these places. But nobody brought that up about CC. CC played the game. He was very likable. He loved the media. Media loved him. And he's gone out after his career and really helped the game. Again, incredible guy. There's not many people, like, if you're like, hey, you give me a short list of players and CC's on that list, you say we got one game to play, like, on short rest, who you're giving the ball to. And it's been incredible, especially that run he had with the Brewers. Pitched well as a Yankee, but he was really great as a Indian, and that was short time with the Brewers. And so it's remarkable. He had a great career, incredible career, and a very good, like, a great guy you want to be around.
He was, when he was on the Yankees, he was a little bit like Mariano, not the best pitcher, but so consistently good year after year after year after year that he was just, he's your
he had a
ace.
couple great years with the Yankees. He's still 21 wins one year, 19 wins one year. But again, then, like, he had some of the injuries, he had some of the knee problems, some of the weight issues, right? Where that whole lot of conversation about that. But he was just so good, like, over the course of his career. Like, he was solid.
And the third lefty in history with 3,000 strikeouts. Name the other two, please, who are in the Hall.
Oh, 3,000 strikeouts? All right, Randy.
Yeah.
That's the easy one. Another lefty with 3,000. It wasn't Sandy.
No.
Sandy Koufax was not.
I'll give you a hint. He plays for a team that I absolutely hate.
Was it Whitey Ford? Was he a lefty?
No, I don't hate the Yankees.
I thought you hated the Yankees.
No, I don't hate the Yankees. I don't blame the Yankees.
Tom Glavine.
Nope. He was a Met, so I couldn't hate him. That would be from the Philadelphia Phillies, Mr. Steve Carlton.
Okay. Tom Glavine doesn't have 3,000 strikeouts?
Nope.
He had 3,000 like ground balls.
He did indeed. All right. And the final guy, the guy that I'm just going to let you talk and have fun, the man who said, pray for hair growth, David, Ichiro. Ichiballs.
There was nothing like going to a Mariners game, sitting in the bullpen and hearing people in right field just scream Ichiro all game, a whole, and a lot of them being Asian, Japanese, and sitting there going, Ichiro, just a whole game. Absolutely incredible ball player, talk about coming over from Japan, having an incredible career in Japan before he even came here, right? And then he comes here, hits the ground running, rookie of the year, MVP his very first year. There was only in his first, God, what was that, like 10 years, only 1 year he didn't have MVP votes, and that year he still was an all-star and a gold glover, and he still hit 300. Incredible base hit machine. His job was to hit base hits. He knew that, and he did it with the very best in the game. It wasn't necessarily about getting on base, it was base hits, and he was the very best in the game at that. And I've never seen better back control, better approach to the plate. He was a guy you never wanted to see if you didn't want to get a runner on base, because he'd be on first base within a heartbeat. Amazing arm and out of right field, especially when he first came over. You did want to run on him fast. He would actually, sell out a lot more than a lot of players from Asia at first. He would go for the ball, the sliding catch that kind of made it famous. Yeah. Incredible teammate. I loved every single minute with him. It was locker mates for 3 years with him, and then played with him also with the Yankees. And he was just a great teammate. I loved every little bit of him. And God, Ichiballs. Congratulations.
holds the record for most hits in a season with 258. And
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, he surpassed Pete Rose.
262. 262.
Oh, 262. My mistake.
Yes.
And
And
as
he
far
was
as I'm
seventh
concerned,
in MVP voting that year, by the way.
he was what?
Seventh.
He
had 372, led the league, hit 372, 262 hits, had the most intentional walks, had the highest WAR in the American League. WAR wasn't a thing back then, and was seventh in MVP. Vladdy was first, Sheffield, Ramirez, Ortiz, Tejada, Johan Santana, and then Ichibal's.
And if Ichiro was a New York Yankee, he would have been number one probably that year.
Yes, 1,000%. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to take anything away from like Vladdy had 39 home runs, 124 runs, 337 average, and but dude, come on.
Yeah, for those of you that don't think that there's an East Coast bias when you're looking at MVP and stuff like that, just remember Ichiro came in seventh that year. And I'm kind of ashamed to be a New Yorker sometimes when I think about that just incredible skew towards New York Yankees and New York Mets. It's bad. But Ichiro, just an amazing player, another guy that you made look so good, and he should be calling you and thanking you. Now, he missed out by being unanimous by one vote, and I think I figured out why he wasn't unanimous.
Oh, why?
Because there's probably some writer who was pissed off that he never got an interview with Ichiro because Ichiro speaks English. We know that he speaks English, but no, he couldn't let anybody know. So that writer probably got so pissed that he couldn't get an interview that he said, I'll make him wait.
I will say this. I don't think because Ichiro didn't get unanimous, I don't think the system's necessarily broken. But I do say this, and we're going to talk about this. Somebody has to have a conversation with that person and say, what was your reasoning? Why did you believe he wasn't a Hall of Famer? And the reason is, well, because everyone else is going to vote him in. They take their vote away. Because there's not enough accountability to the votes. We're going to talk about this. I know we're going to talk about it. But when I look at this and say, you can make an argument for Billy Wagner. You can make an argument against Billy Wagner. You can make an argument against CC Sabathia. Without a doubt, you can make a very easy argument probably for both. I think they're wrong, but you can make an argument for both. But when it comes to Ichiro and his success here, and then you add in his success in Japan as well, because that's part of it. What didn't he do? He argued he had more hits than Pete Rose if you combine the two.
Which
we added Negro leagues into this. Why can't we add Japanese stats to this if you want to go down that road?
They did it with Josh Gibson. Why shouldn't they do it with Ichiro? It wasn't like the Japanese players weren't allowed to play in the United States, just like the black players weren't allowed to play in MLB. So if you're going to give Josh Gibson his stats from the Negro leagues, why not give Ichiro his stats from Japan and actually have the real hit king in the Hall of Fame?